I recently beat Skyward Sword, and I think it might be my favorite Zelda game. And yes, I've played Breath of the Wild. Is Breath of the Wild a better made game? Yes. But I just love this game, man. It just makes me happy, for the most part. What about the game do I love, though? Well, before I made the video, I looked for someone else's opinion. Here is my friend Thomas. Hello, what is your name?
My name's Thomas.
Wow. Alright, so I just have some questions about, well, yeah, you already know. We already tried this once and it failed. Alright, yeah, but, what Zelda games have you played, like, at least halfway through?
That would be Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, and Twilight Princess. I've done a little bit of,
like, basically all the others except for Majora's Mask and
Ocarina.
Ocarina, correct?
And the Oracles ones, but like...
Oh yeah, and Oracles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have, like, a pretty, like, good understanding of Zelda series. What is your favorite Zelda game?
I got to go with Twilight Princess, and this might be a little biased because it was my,
First Zelda game?
It was my first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
What do you, like, what do you like about it? So what do you like about Twilight?
I feel like it's, characters and world and dungeons just feel more alive as opposed to some of the other ones.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like in Skyward Sword, it's like, you feel like you're, like, just going back to the same place over and over again, kind of, like, it feels like they're levels, instead of Twilight Princess's,
Right.
so Twilight Princess's world. Cohesive world, opposed to Skyward Sword's levels, but I'm not dissing. I love you, Skyward Sword.
Yeah, both good games.
Yeah. What else do you like about it, Twilight?
Are more unique than some of the other ones that we've seen in other Zelda games.
Yeah, because you become
Like,
a
you got
furry.
the classics. You got the hook shot, the bombs, the bow. But you also got ones like the ball and chain, which is just
A ball and chain.
just a ball and chain, and it isn't like that useful, to be honest. But it's just,
Underutilized.
It's cool. Yeah, underutilized.
Like a whip.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, because like the more cool items you add, like they don't often use the items enough because, you know, they're more niche, because you can do something more general with the bow or ring, but like,
yeah, like for those it feels like the items that you have are built for that dungeon, not built for the game.
yeah, exactly. And only if you want like another heart piece, or maybe like near the end of the game or something, you would use them, but like not much else.
Yeah. What do you think about Skyward Sword? What do you like about it?
I feel like navigating the sky for the most part is pretty entertaining, because you can like landing on an island, just making a cool entrance, and then jumping off and whistling and getting a bird. Like, it's always fun. But I mean, landing and getting on are the best parts of the bird riding, because it's kind of flawed. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But it's fun, because it's something that you'll do a lot throughout the game, but it's
Not the
pretty
main focus.
consistently entertaining.
Yeah.
To just hop off island and get your bird, fly away.
The dungeons in this game are probably one of the best, in my opinion. Freaking ancient cistern.
Yeah, Ancient Cistern, Sand Ship,
and
and
Skykeep. I don't.
Skykeep.
Okay,
Which
we'll talk
are
about the dungeons later because I'm just getting angry thinking about people dissing the Skykeep.
yeah, that's not fun.
Is that
We were talking about the
the
Skykeep
dungeon?
and how some people don't like the Skykeep, and
Yeah, we'll get
yeah,
into
goofy,
that
exactly.
later. Where does Skyward Sword like rank?
It's probably third behind Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild, because I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like it has the best music out of those ones.
Yeah, fully orchestrated.
Yeah, the
Breath of the Wild, when the music gets going, it's good, but like you rarely ever hear that music. Like this is a kind of a dumb question because you can't really be like good at it. But how skilled are you at Zelda?
I mean, in general, I feel like
It's hard to be like.
I'm alright. I could beat the three that I mentioned, but I can't do any crazy Breath of the Wild combat or speedrun shenanigans.
What was next? What's your favorite Zelda dungeon like ever?
Favorite Zelda dungeon ever. I was thinking of the Arbiter's Grounds when you said that from Twilight Princess. But that one's good in concept and theory. It's like a great design, but like the puzzles are kind of mid, and quicksand's annoying, and the little termite dudes are tough to deal with. Yeah, a similar dungeon that actually is fun in practice is the Ancient Cistern, which is a dungeon in. This is unscripted. This is a dungeon in Skyward Sword that's in Faerun, and it's got two sides to its whole thing. It's this creepy looking basement, but above it, you enter, and it's like just this kind of big sort of cistern. I don't know. It's like this game's water dungeon.
Yeah.
But
what game would you say has the best dungeons?
what game has the best dungeons? I feel like, especially with some other Zelda games, Skyward Sword goes for quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a lot of the gameplay is like outside of the dungeons, and a lot of the puzzle solving parts are out of the dungeons. So there are 7, and 7 main ones, that is.
Yeah.
And like they're all solid at worst. There's Skyview Temple, which is
the worst.
Like, yeah, pretty generic, but it's the first one. There's I can't really tell the Elden ones apart, I'll be completely honest.
The Elden? There's the Fire Sanctuary and the
Earth Temple.
Yeah, the Earth Temple.
Yeah, which one's first? It's the Fire Sanctuary first.
No, it's the Earth Temple first.
That proves my point. They're the same dungeon. I mean, I gotta say, I slightly prefer the later one.
The Earth, or not the Earth Temple, the Fire Sanctuary.
Yeah, I mean,
I like the use of water plants there. Like the water.
Yeah, the water plants are fun. That's a cool mechanic. But yeah, it just picks up from there. That's where it gets good.
Sorry, scroll up.
You got the mining facility, which has good music and time shift stones, which are fun. There's the sand ship, which is surprised that it took them this long to make a pirate ship dungeon, because it's like such a cool idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like even if its boss isn't that great, it makes up for it with cool bow puzzles. And
I like how you have to like hit the like
yeah, the big central time
Yeah.
stone is a cool mechanic. Switching the dungeon from
past
to
future,
present.
or present. I mean, yeah. So what do you think a Zelda game should be like, and like what do you enjoy in one?
I want it to kind of feel alive.
Yeah, like a world.
'Cause
Yeah, we talked about this a
the way-
little earlier.
Yeah, some of them it just feels like just going to specific areas
And like
and
tracking
doing something in that area, then it's like, oh, now we have to collect this.
and go
Like,
and like in Skyward Sword, you're like, oh, now I have to go back to the freaking I have to go get. Oh, there's a big fire pit and I don't have enough water for it. Now I have to go back to Farron and go talk to the water dragon again for like the third time. And there's just, I feel like there's a bit of pacing issues. Like they could have cut down some of the pacing in Breath of the Wild by just making you not like have to backtrack to the same areas like 5 times.
yeah, like backtracking, that's one thing. Like, I want specific areas to feel fresh and like not having to do a dungeon in the same. Like 2 dungeons too close to each other, I feel like can be annoying.
Like you want a world rather than levels.
Yeah.
That just house dungeons. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a good and like bad part of Skyward Sword is because the dungeons like leading up to it, it feels like a whole mini dungeon, especially Elden. That's like Elden's probably my favorite area because it just of the volcano setting is just so cool. And then the third time you go in, getting like knocked off of your paraglider. I know it's not called a paraglider.
Oh yeah, we
And then you go to jail, get kidnapped. Yeah, it's just like some like the actual hub worlds feel really cool, but then you get to the dungeons and the two of them are just so close to each other. Like I like the lake, but that's probably the only like extended one that I like. And the Sensi, never mind.
Yeah.
But like the lake feels like a bit like too close. Even and
yeah,
the fire sanctuary is literally just feels like it's right next to it.
Like there's like the opening area in Linearu, which you can go in 2 different ways to get to the Sandsea or to the main area, and because there's the fork in the road used to be like far from the dungeon, so it's not like, oh, you're almost at the dungeon. Okay, this dungeon, that dungeon.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but like.
Yeah, there needs to be like somewhere it's like, oh, I can't go there yet, so I know I have to go like.
Yeah.
Like, every time you're like, oh, you can't go there yet, so it's immediately like, okay, so I'll come back here later and just do that, because at the start of the game, you're like, whoa, there's only 3 areas. And I was thinking that, like, when I first thought about this game, I thought that when I got to the first 3 areas, I was going to go to, like, a reverse world or something, and there's going to be, like, 3 more areas. Only 3 areas for the whole game, which is kind of lackluster.
That's, one.
I get why people don't like that, but I think that I'll just talk about that later. Just to like kind of wrap everything up, what is like your favorite genre of video game?
Yeah,
Alright, I guess that's like it. Alright, I think that's probably all.
Alright.
Well, anyways, back to my opinions. Where this game takes place in the timeline is just amazing. I know basically everyone who knows about this game knows that, but that just proves my point more. Not even just that though. I love Link's relationship with Zelda, the characters, I love you Goose, and the environments of the 3 areas. While many don't like how there's only 3 areas, I like it because every time you go back, the areas are varied and changed. However, I do admit that the pacing is not that good. For example, at one point in the game, you are about to go to the second dungeon in Elden Volcano, when you realize you need the basin from the water dragon, so you have to go back, fly. Most likely you'll have goddess cube checks, so go get those, go to Farron Woods, go through the lake, talk to Pharaoh, go back, run up to the big fire and tell your robot to put it out. Stuff like that happens all of the time, but the game's story still feels awesome, and that final showdown against Girahim and Demise feels so cool, and like you actually are saving something big. Talking about showdown. The combat in Skyward Sword is one of the most controversial parts of the game, as a lot of people would have never played this game because they see it as the motion-controlled Zelda game. That sucks because obviously I love this game. However, with the HD version, you have the option to just use button controls, which are solid, but hard to get used to at the start of the game. For example, a multitude of times, I would flick my thumbstick and nothing would even happen, making me lose some fights. And it especially being annoying in hero mode. Oh yeah, hero mode. Hero mode in this game is really hard, as you take double damage and you can only get hearts from chairs unless you have the heart medal. So, a lot of people don't like the controls, but I like how it's methodical and slower. The movement in this game is, well, not that good. It's not horrible, but some sections, especially the sky ones, drag on. When you accidentally move to the left a bit and fall down a big pit that you just climbed up, you can get pretty annoyed. Also, I can't leave out the bird controls. Oh my god, I think these are the most slippery firing controls I've ever felt my whole life. Trying to get into boost tunnel, go slightly over or slightly under. You need to land on a specific island at a specific point, have fun flying by it, and then having to slowly turn around, only to miss it again. And you go so slowly in the sky. Feels like you're playing it at negative 49 frames. Why did I write that? However, the swimming controls in this game are amazing. Sorry, Majora's Mask. As you can go as fast as much as you want, and jumping out of the water feels so easy. However, especially in flooded Faron, trying to land on the lily pads when you come out of the water is annoying, as you roll in will most likely roll off and go back into the water. The board controls aren't horrible, but it is kind of annoying how you have to get to an intersection to turn. Although, it is realistic, so I'll give it a slight pass. Well, that ends this section. Next on to... Finally! So, I don't think it's a big secret, but this game has one of the best dungeons in the entire Zelda series. For example, or should I say for examples, the Sky Keep, the Sand Ship, and the Ancient Cistern. First, let's start out with the Ancient Cistern. In the Ancient Cistern, you first enter and see a big statue in front of you. Okay, the first puzzle in the dungeon I don't really like. Basically, you have to go to all of the statues, its hands, and its rears. Its rear. But after that, you get the whip, which is a criminally underused item. However, in the Ancient Cistern, it is used pretty well. After that, you go down a pipe where you are locked in a room, and you use your whip to get a key from the goblin on the other side of Metal Gate. You then open the gate, and see the chest with the key you need to get to the final boss. We'll talk about Koloktos in a second. Then, after you see it, you realize you can get into the statue in the middle, or you can move it down to get into the basement. However, when you do that, it covers the chest that you need. You climb back up a spider's web, and yes, we all know about the reference to the story, where you then lift it up, jump back down, and grab it. Now I can talk about Koloktos. Koloktos, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is such an amazing boss. I love how he dodges attacks and then rip his arms off and use his own limbs to attack him. After that, we got the Sand Ship. The idea of the Sand Ship is so cool. Like Thomas said, I'm surprised it took them this long to make a pirate ship. But in this dungeon, the main focus is a time shift stone at the middle of the ship, which transfers it from the present, run-down ship with random spikes everywhere, to the past ship, with a bunch of enemies and electro grates everywhere. That sets up a really cool puzzle, or well, two puzzles I guess. The first puzzle is one where you need to go into a room in the past, because the wall that'll stop you from moving isn't there in the past. But when you get there, there's a door that's only open in the present. I spent a while sitting there. I looked up, and there was a grate in the ceiling that you can shoot an arrow through to hit the time shift stone. I really like this dungeon because it forces you to always look and pay attention to your surroundings, and to always be thinking about the differences from the past to the present. The other puzzle I was talking about also relates to what I was saying. In this puzzle, you get into the room in the present, but the only way you can get into the other part of it is in the past. So you go up, go back, hit the time shift stone, lower the boat, and then go back into the other in the past. While the boss isn't the best in the dungeon, everything else easily makes up for it. Lastly, there's the Sky Keep. Oh my god, the Sky Keep. This is easily the most unique dungeon in the game, and you could argue the whole series. Basically, in this dungeon, you're in a slide puzzle. You can move every room except for the one that you're in. This creates a situation where you have to build ahead to where you want to go through one room, but you can move other rooms, which will let you get to the Triforce. Oh yeah, this is the last dungeon of the game, where you get all 3 pieces of the Triforce. In this dungeon, you have to go to every single room because in some of them there's a key, or you can only get a certain rooms from there, or obviously, there's a Triforce. Each room in the dungeon is basically just a shrine for Breath of the Wild. I can't really say like what you do or what the central puzzles are, because there's just so many. There's also no boss, though I guess you could say Gearheim and Demise. That's why I love the dungeons in this game. All of the other dungeons are good too. Skyview Temple you enter relatively early, and has a small element of choice, where you can choose which crystals to hit first. After that, there's the Earth Temple and the Fire Sanctuary, which are actually pretty similar. I like the ball in the Earth Temple. I love the water fruit puzzle of the Fire Sanctuary, where you make rocks in the fire so you can traverse new areas. I also love the Lanairu mining facility, as I love moving the minecart and following it while trying not to get hit by the enemies. Also, I love the vacuum. Wow, that was really long. What's next? Oh, that. So we all know about the biggest upgrade, the controls. Like I talked about earlier, you now have the option to use motion controls, or button controls. I'm not going to elaborate a lot about that because I already talked about it. Also, the other obvious thing is the HD because, well, Skyward Sword HD. Also, one thing that a lot of people don't like is the use of the Zelda and Loftwing amiibo, as it's a $50 quality of life feature, which yeah, is pretty dumb. However, it's not that important. Is it dumb that Nintendo makes you pay for something slightly lowering the patterning in the game? Yes, obviously. Is it that important though? No. Another big thing they did is make Fee less annoying. Fee, same thing. Which a lot of people hated in the original game. Fee barely talks in this game, and really only talks when necessary, or when you ask her. Making it at least slightly more sad when you put her in the Master Sword. The last main thing I'm going to talk about is the autosave. This is an amazing update. I'm actually surprised it wasn't in the original game. Well, that's all. Thank you all so much for watching this. It took me a while to make, and I just love this game. Probably won't be uploading super consistently, but I hope you guys will subscribe and check back every now and then. Again, thank you for watching, and bye. Also, I was sick while I was recording this, so that's why I sound like I just woke up.